What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, ZTL, here to do some, news for the new servant that's dropping, but actually, it's not really going to be all that much information because we really don't know a lot right now. They literally just did a live stream, dropped the NP over here for what the servant, like what it actually looks like, and admittedly, it does look pretty good, but then, the unit's not out in game, the event's not out or anything like that. It's just, hey man, here's what the servant looks like, and that's about it, which I don't really like that this is kind of the trend they're starting to move forward with, that they just, do a stream, they'll be like, hey, here's the servant, alright, by the way, just wait like 3 days and it'll come out, like, especially when they do have the capacity, and they have pretty much been doing it in a way where it's like, here's what the servant looks like, and you could summon for them right now, and like they're out in game. They're kind of starting to do this thing where it's like, alright, here's the servant, you'll see them in a week, and I'm just like, come on, dude, like, you can't be dropping these hype servants, and then just making us wait a week to summon for them, especially when, you got fake Alexander over here, which, if you've been watching Case Files, is a pretty sick character, and her NP looks super dope, and you're like, man, you can't just be dropping that and just giving us no opportunity to summon for the servant. So, I mean, we're going to just talk a little bit in this video. It's kind of just more of a discussion about what we could kind of speculate and some things we might need to look out for when it comes to this servant, but really, there's not a whole lot. Like, if you're not really one for discussions or anything, there's not a whole lot in this video, man. But before we begin, your boy's on that daily FGO content grind, and I would really appreciate a like on the video and a subscribe to the channel, as it does help me out more than you know. If you want another free way to go ahead and support the channel, I am affiliated by all means with LD Emulator and Loot Cakes, which are both down in the description down below. And no, you will not lose your account for putting your, account on an emulator on your PC. It's a common question that I get, and actually, when we talk about this hype JP stuff, if you're someone that's an NA player and you want to play JP, well, I mean, now is actually a really good time to go ahead and hop into JP. We'll talk about this in just a second, but now is a really good time to go ahead and hop into JP, not just because of this event, but there's other stuff going off right now that I think actually make it a really good time to go ahead and hop into the game. So if you wanted to do that, you could do that on an emulator or something. And then finally, if you want bonus content, you could either click that join button to become a channel member, or you could go to the Twitch where I stream every weekday. Now, the thing that's really weird about this servant is it's really hard to determine what her target ability is, because if you look, they specifically only have her, I don't want to get copyrighted or anything, but they specifically only have her target this one dude right here. So we can't even ascertain whether or not she's single target or AoE. It's kind of hard to tell, because with her charging in, you'd be like, oh, that's like an AoE animation. But then it almost looks like she kind of just singles one person out in the animation. So it's kind of hard to tell as to whether or not she's going to be a single target or an AoE servant. But the main thing here is that we do at least know her class. She's going to be the second pretender type servant in the game, which we all really thought it was going to be Rasputin, or we thought more namely that Sherlock Holmes was going to be getting a pretender class servant, because he's been pretty sus as of late, and he's been pretty sus for the last 2 years, so we've been kind of waiting for him to get his pretender class version. But the fact that she's coming out as a second pretender class, I think, is really cool, very fitting with the actual lore of the show. And it's going to be very dodgy as to whether or not how good she is, because the pretender class is quite literally just the opposite of the alter ego class. And you guys know my stance on alter egos. They're not a bad class. It's a very interesting class to have, where they're super effective against half the game, and then they, are resistant to half the game, or the half the game is resistant to them, I guess is the better way to say it. Pretenders are literally the opposite, right? They function as the opposite of alter egos. So it's really going to depend how good she is. She's going to need to be really good to kind of make up for the fact that her class and how she's kind of built is a little wonky, right? And when it comes to these pretender and alter ego classes, usually you have other main class characters that are just a bit better than the role that they fill. It's just pretenders and alter egos are kind of going to be carried off the fact that they are super effective against half the game, and they're kind of like pseudo berserkers, right? That's kind of how they're carried. There's very few alter egos right now that I think really break that mold and kind of are these are really, really strong servants. Name examples would be Kiara or Melta Lilith. Those are servants that, even despite them having this kind of weird class, they're just built in such a really good way, whether it be Kiara just being built to literally just destroy everything in the game, and Melta Lilith just being built as a very, very simple, straightforward, single target quick servant, and she just does that role super effectively. So, we'll have to see what they do with this servant. it's gonna be kind of a toss-up. I don't really know what attribute she's even gonna be, because like if you look at the video, they've done this thing where they've hidden it, right? Like even from like the proc over here, you don't see anything prop over her head. Like you don't see like an activating first buster effect, or like just, or like an NP damage buff. Like we don't see anything. They've completely hidden any and all effects that this character has, which I'm hoping is just them hiding it, because there's also the reality that she might just not have any effects on her NP at all, which is a little scary, because you know, you kind of do want to have things popping on your NP so it's not a complete wet noodle. So it's very hard to ascertain anything from this servant. It's very unclear as to whether or not they're trying to specifically hide these things, or she just doesn't have anything. So that's kind of all that we have over here for, you know, our new pretender Alexander over here. There's not a whole lot to go off of. I've tried to ascertain as much as I possibly can for you guys, but you know, there's just not a whole lot to go off of. Also the unfortunate thing is that if you look at the event details, right, you know, we can't even get like an idea of who's gonna be on the new, like the banner or anything, or like if there's gonna be any new servants, because I believe Pretender is gonna be a free-to-play servant, if I know correctly. If I was kind of reading things correctly, she's either just gonna be a new gacha 4-star, or she's gonna be an additional free-to-play servant, which, you know, obviously as an American, my kanji reading skills aren't completely up to par, so don't take what I just said with, you know, 100% certainty, right? It's just, you know, my little guess, right? But anyway, if you look down here, you know, they don't even have like the banner up here. They have, these are the bonus servants, right? These are who is, you know, going to give you like bond and everything, but they don't have who the summoning campaign is going to be, which I think is a little sussy. This is also why I don't think she's going to be free to play, by the way, is because they didn't add it down here. But if they wanted it to be, oh, this is an event that you can get 2 free to play servants, I think that'd be really sick. But yeah, like we don't really get a whole lot of information. They're being like really secretive about it, and it's kind of bothering me. Like I don't know why they're being super secretive about this new servant, and they're being super secretive about this event. Maybe they'll update the event page or something. I really don't know. But see, yeah, look, it starts in 3 days, which is, you know, a little annoying. And then if the new pretender is going to be the gacha servant, why is there not a new 5-star servant, right? Like, are they just going to kind of put Reigns back out again? Is Reigns going to get a buff or something? It's all over the place, man. Just so much speculation of what they're actually doing, but something we don't have to speculate about. I was trying to have a good transition there, but I'm also admittedly very tired right now. But if you come over here, if you go on the JP version of the game, you can do this questionnaire, get these 4 tickets. It's, you know, nothing super intense. Like, you can literally click this link right here. I'll probably pin this in the pinned comments down below, just so people don't have a hard time finding it. But I mean, if for whatever reason, you know, you don't want to check the pinned comments, you can literally just go to like the wiki homepage, and it's right here, right? It's just right here. You click that link, you fill this out, you get your 4 tickets. Because I mean, if you're someone that's kind of been looking forward to this pretender servant, because you've been watching the Lord El Malloy series, being able to get 4 tickets to use for her banner, if she is going to be a banner servant, is going to be very, very useful. So that's really all that I kind of wanted to talk about in today's video. You know, I'm sorry that I can't bring you guys like the full details for the servant, but I tried my best. I put on my thinking glasses, I put on my hard hat, I tried to go to work, but they really are just being either super secretive or the servant has nothing. But because I'm leaning more towards her just being like a new gacha 4-star, you know, I would expect her to have things on her NP and stuff. So I'm hoping she's going to be very good, especially as the second pretender in the game. You know, she probably should be pretty good. This is kind of the pattern they follow. Just to kind of give you guys an example, they put out Dante's first, right? It's kind of like the trial run for what an Avenger servant should be. And then they put out Jalter. Dante's really didn't have any meta splash when he came out. He only had a splash when Scotty came out, but he was kind of like the guinea pig. Then Jalter comes out, and then when Jalter came out, I mean, she shook the entire game. I mean, she's still one of the highest damaging servants in the game, and she's just built extremely well. So, you know, when it comes to her being the second pretender, if Oberon is, I guess, the trial run for the class, then I'm expecting this servant to still be very good. Probably not better, because Oberon is very, very insane with what he does for the entire party. But I don't know, maybe she'll be broken in a different way. So just some things to consider, just some kind of final thoughts wanted to give you guys, as this is kind of a big deal. She's the second pretender servant, so it's gonna really determine where the class goes from here. Is this really just gonna be Alter Ego 2.0, where every time we get a Pretender class servant, we're just gonna be like, oh, okay, it's, you know, it's neat, it's cool, I guess. Or is it gonna be like the Avenger class, where, I mean, most of the Avengers are just absolute banger servants. I mean, you got Dante's, who's super relevant now, Jalter, who's super, I mean, if you watch my single target buster video, you'd be like, oh, this guy hates Jalter, but she could be anywhere from like the 6th best single target unit in the game to like the best single target servant in the game, depending on how the turn plays out, right? She's very, there are, what do you call it, variables for Jalter, but she's still like absolutely insane is the point I'm making. Then you have Kagekiyo, who's insane. You have Kama, Space Ishtar. I mean, it's just a banger class. Even like the quote-unquote free-to-play servant, Salieri of the group, he's even pretty insane. So it's like, are you going to go down the Avenger path, or are you going down the Alter Ego path, where you kind of have some dud servants, like Okita Alter, who still needs some buffs, Passionlip, who I have no idea whether they're just leaving Passionlip to die. I mean, you just have like these other servants that really aren't doing much, and really the class is being carried by people like Kiara and Melta Lilith. So, I don't know, just some closing thoughts. With all that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I'm going to go ahead and get out of here and go to bed, because, you know, your boy's tired. But yeah, with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have just a nice day. Peace, late guys.